The industry is currently paralyzed in a way we haven't seen since the passing of the greats. But this is different. This is a haunting, visceral shock that has moved beyond the typical Hollywood morning. When the news first broke about what happened in that Brentwood home, most of us expected a standard statement from the usual representatives. But what no one anticipated was Tom Cruise stepping out of the shadows of his intense production schedule to speak. This isn't a PR-managed press release. This is Tom Cruise, a man who famously guards his private thoughts with ironclad discipline, breaking a silence that has felt like a physical weight on the industry. He didn't go through a publicist. He didn't wait for a red carpet. He reached out because, as he put it to those in his inner circle, the truth of what happened to Rob and Michelle Reiner is a debt he owes to the man who helped define his career during the most pivotal era of his life. The details Tom has started to share with colleagues and through verified channels are beginning to paint a picture that is far more disturbing than the initial police reports suggested. For those who remember the early 9s, Tom and Rob Reiner were the architects of one of the most significant legal dramas in history, A Few Good Men. But Tom isn't talking about the Oscars or the box office right now. He's talking about the Rob Reiner he knew behind the scenes, the man who was a father figure to everyone on his set, and the man who for decades carried a private, agonizing burden regarding his son Nick. Tom's voice, usually characterized by a relentless, infectious energy, is now described by those who have spoken to him as hollow, aged by the sheer brutality of these facts. He isn't just mourning a director. He's describing the collapse of a family dynamic he watched from the periphery for over 30 years. According to sources who were with Tom when he received the call on the night of December 14th, the actor was in the middle of a late-night production meeting when his phone rang. It was a contact from within the Los Angeles law enforcement community, someone he's known since his days filming in the city. When the words Rob and Michelle were spoken, followed by homicide, Tom reportedly didn't say a word for several minutes. He simply stood up and walked to the window overlooking the city that Rob Reiner had helped build into a cinematic empire. The official report says they were found with multiple sharp force injuries, a clinical term that masks the true horror of a crime scene that veteran investigators are calling one of the most personally motivated attacks they've ever processed. But Tom's shocking revelation goes deeper. He has confirmed that he was aware of the escalating tensions between Nick and his parents as recently as 6 months ago. Tom has revealed that during a private dinner earlier this year, Rob had grown uncharacteristically quiet when the subject of his children came up. For a man as boisterous and filled with life as Rob Reiner, this was a red flag. Tom recalls Rob mentioning that the cycle was getting harder to break, a direct reference to Nick's long-standing struggles with addiction and the deep-seated resentment that seemed to have fermented into something much darker than simple rebellion. Tom's account provides a chilling context to the January trial. He believes this wasn't a sudden explosion of rage, but a calculated, deteriorating situation that Rob and Michelle were trying to solve with too much love and not enough boundaries. Tom is reportedly devastated because he feels that the Hollywood community, himself included, respected the Reiners' privacy so much that warning signs were ignored. The house in Brentwood, once a sanctuary where creative giants gathered and where scripts like The American President and Misery were dissected, became a place of fear. Tom has shared that he received a message from Rob weeks ago that he didn't fully understand at the time. It was a short reflective note about the cost of legacy. In hindsight, Tom views this as Rob's silent admission that he was losing control of the situation with Nick. The arrest of Nick Reiner on 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances has sent a tremor through the A-list community. But Tom is the first one to point out the irony. The man who gave the world the most iconic courtroom scene in history, the "you can't handle the truth" moment, was ultimately silenced by a truth he couldn't handle in his own living room. Investigators have remained tight-lipped about the exact nature of the sharp force injuries. But through Tom's conversations with those close to the case, it is becoming clear that the scene was chaotic and prolonged. There were no signs of forced entry. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was an execution of the people who had given Nick every possible resource to succeed. Tom has been vocal behind closed doors about the fact that Nick's defense, led by Alan Jackson, will likely lean heavily on mental health and the pressures of the Hollywood shadow. But Tom isn't buying it. His stance is one of absolute accountability. He has told friends that Rob wouldn't want a script written to excuse this. He would want the ending to be about justice, no matter how painful it is for the surviving children. What makes Tom's breaking of silence so impactful is his description of Michelle Singer Reiner. While the world knows Rob, Tom knew the partnership. He described Michelle as the rhythm to Rob's melody. To hear that she was targeted with the same ferocity as Rob has changed the tone of the conversation from a tragic accident to a demonic betrayal. Tom has revealed that Michelle had been the primary mediator between Nick and the rest of the family for years, often shielding Rob from the worst of Nick's outbursts to protect Rob's failing health and his spirit. The fact that she was taken alongside him suggests to Tom a level of premeditation that makes the January 7th trial one of the most significant legal events in the history of the state. As we look at the timeline Tom has laid out, it becomes clear that the silence in Hollywood wasn't just about respect. It was about fear of the reality. Tom is now pushing for a complete reevaluation of how the industry handles these internal family tragedies that are often swept under the rug of privacy. He has been in constant contact with Romy and Jake Reiner, who are reportedly in a state of catatonic grief, unable to even process the fact that their brother is the one in the Los Angeles County Jail. Tom's shock isn't just about the death. It's about the realization that the Brentwood bubble is a myth. No amount of money, fame, or legacy could protect one of the industry's most beloved figures from a threat that was sleeping under his own roof. Tom's detailed account of his last conversation with Rob is perhaps the most heartbreaking piece of this puzzle. They were discussing a potential retrospective project when Rob told him, "Tom, the stories we kill on screen are easy because we control the ending. Real life is the only script that scares me." Tom didn't realize until the morning of December 15th exactly what Rob was afraid of. The actor has reportedly committed to attending the trial in January not as a spectator, but as a representative of the old guard of Hollywood, ensuring that the legacy of his mentor isn't overshadowed by the crimes of the son. The gravity of the situation is exacerbated by the fact that Nick Reiner was reportedly on the run before his arrest.